Um, Hello, everyone. I'm Allison Gilbert. I focus on water stewardship at Gap Inc., which is the parent company to the clothing brands Gap, Old Navy, Banana Republic, and Athleta. Um, we are here today to explore the business case for investing in community water resilience using real life learnings from an initiative called the USAID Gap Inc. Women in Water Alliance. This is a public-private partnership with the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, and Gap Inc., where we're working with key NGOs in 2 states in India where cotton is grown and textiles are made. We're taking collective action approach with our nonprofit partners, all with a focus on women as change makers who are advancing their own wash-related needs. We're really excited to share that we've set an ambitious goal to empower 2 million people to improve their access to water and sanitation by 2023. So today, we'll explore the business case for taking on this WASH challenge. We'll start off by providing a bit of context. So why did USAID and Gap Inc. decide to pursue this work in the first place? And what exactly is the USAID Gap Inc. Women in Water Alliance? Then we will turn to discussion, which will be the bulk of our time today. We'll talk with the representatives from each of our 4 implementing partners to understand the different levers they're using to improve access to clean water and sanitation. You'll hear from Sharad Kaslaya from CARE, Kavita Tiwari from WaterAid, Sanal Gauri Shankar from water.org, and Ishita Kapoor from the Institute for Sustainable Communities. Then we'll have Q&A at the end. So please put questions into the chat in the CWE website along the way. So to start us off, Ella Lazarte from USAID is here. Ella, what exactly do we mean by building community water resilience? Why is the US government interested in building this community water resilience abroad? And what is USAID's approach to partnering with corporates in public-private partnerships?
Great, thanks so much, Allison. And first, I just wanted to thank everybody for participating in our discussion today. It should be an exciting session. So from our perspective at USAID, we've had 60 years of experience in international development, and USAID has seen that things don't always go as planned. And so building resilience is really critical to the work we do. And first, let me just start off by defining what is resilience from our perspective. Broadly within the agency, we define resilience as the ability of people, households, communities, systems, and countries to mitigate, adapt to, and recover from shocks and stresses in a way that reduces chronic vulnerability and facilitates inclusive growth. And so I wanted to echo Mark Feierstein's remarks during our opening plenary. He's the principal advisor to our USAID administrator. And as Mark said in that plenary, when it comes to water and sanitation, building resilience is not just taps and toilets and how many people have gained access to water and sanitation. It's about strengthening governance, finance, and broader systems beyond water services. It's also about working upstream to look at water resource management. And water security is a powerful force. It builds resilience by reducing conflict. So when we invest in water, we're investing in resilience to climate change, for instance. We are also building resilience in other sectors, whether it's increasing food security, decreasing exposure to waterborne diseases, et cetera. And resilience is not just about those bigger events. It's also very important when it comes to smaller events, like a broken down rural water system or a water point, a broken irrigation infrastructure, or a river that slowly dries up, or a water source that has poor quality of water. And so lastly, I do want to point out that we are interested in building community resilience in a way that promotes women's empowerment, that promotes women as change agents, as champions for advancing development solutions, especially WASH solutions globally. And you will hear examples throughout the session, so I won't go into details of what we are doing to build resilience, as you will hear my esteemed colleagues do that. And so before I end, Allison, I just wanted to point out why we're partnering with corporates, with Gap Inc., and why is that our approach? Partnerships are essential to getting our work done and achieving our mission for a water secure world, saving lives, reducing poverty, strengthening governance. But we can't do it alone. Our host country governments can't do it alone either. I think what we've learned from COVID-19 and climate change, it's really reinforced the fact that we rely on one another all over the globe, and we need to work together to build our collective resilience. And I just want to point out that an estimated 3 or 4 jobs make up the global workforce are either heavily or moderately dependent on water. So this means that water shortages and problems of access to water and sanitation could limit economic growth and job creation in the coming decades. So hence, it's really important for us to partner with the private sector, such as Gap Inc. And it's the most successful partnerships we see are when we clearly align core business interests with development objectives, which we have in this alliance. We saw in Gap, a leading global apparel retailer, a great company to partner to tackle both water resource management and wash-related issues. And not only does it partner with suppliers to reduce water use and improve water quality, but it's committed to advancing women in communities touched by its business. And so it's been really great to see how this alliance has unfolded over the years. So I hope that you will think the same after hearing what everyone else is saying in this session. Thanks, Allison.
Thanks so much, Ella. Yes, partnerships are essential, and this alignment between our core business interests and the development objectives for all partners involved is really what's driving this. So Sajvat, could you share a little bit about why does Gap Inc. as an apparel company care about building community water resilience?
Sure. Thanks, Allison, for the question. First and foremost, as an organization, we see water as a human right issue. And the business relies on water. It heavily relies on water. And the supply chain, it's like a beautiful domino, where each one supports each other. You stress on one of the dominoes and everything gets stressed. So that's how the supply chain usually works, be it for apparel industry or for any other industry. For us, specifically as in apparel industry, water plays an important role in cotton cultivation, in manufacturing and whatnot. So at the end of the day, it would be fair to say that without water, getting the apparel or clothes is going to be very challenging for us. On top of all of this, we know that water is a finite resource, and also it is a shared resource, right? And as responsible business leaders, as responsible water stewards, it is our responsibility to maintain the equilibrium, to maintain the ecosystem, and to support the ecosystem as much as possible. And on top of all of this, Allison, climate change has really played a big role of late, right? And with this change in climate, water resilience has become a necessity more than an option that probably we could have thought a few years back. So that's why water is so important. On top of that, we have in our value chain, we have got 70% women who are in our value chain. That's why, and these women face an disproportionate burden of water challenges in the communities and that's why it becomes our responsibility to improve the health and well-being of all these women who are part of our value chain. At the end of the day, a strong business will always rely on a strong community, right? And so, just for the business continuity piece, we need water to be there. We need to use it efficiently and effectively.
Yes, strong business relies on strong communities, and it's that nexus of women and water that really feels aligned with the complexity of the problem as well as our values as a company at Gap Inc. So could you share a little bit about what exactly is the Women in Water Alliance?
Yes, absolutely. Women in Water Alliance, Alison, is a public-private partnership between us and USAID. Ela just spoke about it a bit. And you spoke about it in your opening remark as well. This is a 6 years partnership, and we are in year 5 of it, which aims to improve and sustain the health and well-being of women and communities touched by apparel industry in India. And as you mentioned, we can move to the next slide, please. So we're working in 2 states of India, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, which are again water-stressed region, and these are the regions where cotton is grown, or we have got manufacturing partners in this region, and we are working with our key NGOs, NGO partners in this region. We can move to the next slide, please. We are working with key NGO partners with a goal to empower 2 million people to improve their access to water and sanitation by 2023. One of the partners is CARE, who works on empowering women for wash decision making through a Gap Inc flagship program called PACE. It's a program where we train women on life skills. Then we are also working with Water Aid on local water governance, where we are working with them on developing village action plan or the water security plans. And then we are working with water.org on wash financing. This is something where when people need wash loans, then water.org is the organization that helps them get the wash loan. Then we are working with Institute for Sustainable Communities on water stewardship. Here we are working with farmers who are into cotton growing and helping them to have good operating practices on water efficient cotton production. And we are also working with them to support on biofertilizers and biopesticides, which in turn helps us to improve the water quality in this region.
Thanks, Sajwa. You can really start to see how the Women in Water Alliance is leveraging collective action from these partners who each reinforce each other's impact, but each use a different lever for change in this work to empower women as these water champions in their communities. So with that as context, let's bring in our partners. If you all could join. These are the partners who are implementing this important work in the field in India. Here to join us are Sharad from CARE, Kavita from Water Aid, Sonal from water.org, and Ishita from the Institute for Sustainable Communities, or ISC. So let's start by exploring the question from your perspectives. Why is community water resilience important for business, and why should companies get involved in tackling this massive challenge? Let's start with water.org. Sonal, you have a number of corporate partnerships. What have been the motivations of those companies to contribute to community water resilience through WASH?
Thanks, Allison. I think Shashwat put it really well. Strong business relies on strong communities. For communities that are heavily reliant on water use across their value chain, addressing issues of water resilience is good for business. It's good for shareholders, and it's also increasingly important and expected by a company's customers, by employees, and also the local community. Investors are wanting to better understand the water-related risks and mitigation strategies that companies will be deploying. You have shareholders who are now increasingly focused on ESG strategies of companies. And we're also seeing this trend of consumers and customers who want to buy a product that is made in a sustainable way. So it's really in the best interest and business interest of companies and corporates to create that shared value for all stakeholders. Another thing that we're seeing with the majority of our corporate partnerships is that they're motivated by the social license to operate that communities give them. And by this, I mean, because they're taking away a resource, in this case, it's a finite resource like water, corporates need to look at what are the long-term effects that their operational presence has on these communities, who are also relying on the same resource for their own use, whether it's agriculture, livelihoods for domestic purposes. And so if they want to be welcome, if companies want to be welcome in a geography, they want to have successful operations, they really need to support and back communities at a basin level. And if they can provide solutions, resilient solutions, especially for women and children, that creates an even stronger business case for their presence in these communities. And that also sends a very strong message to local government that here is a company that is a user of local resources who's willing to invest in, my community. And I'll end by saying this. I think corporates are very uniquely positioned to do this. They're very uniquely positioned to have a positive impact because they have the technical know-how, they have access to technical know-how, they have the innovation capacity, and they have financial and human resources that makes them really good stewards of water. And they can really usher in good water stewardship practices.
Yeah. Not only do companies rely on water to function, but they have that reach and the resources to actually affect change at scale. So why isn't everybody doing it? Ishita, from your perspective, what are the fundamental challenges for water to have a solid business case in the first place?
Thanks, Alison. So as Sashwat rightly explained, water is a finite shared resource. It's a complex resource, often provided to us at subsidized prices. The market cost of providing water across different uses, whether that's agriculture, domestic, industry, it's typically not reflective of the supply-demand dynamics that drive market prices of most commodities in this world. So how do you really define the value of a shared resource that often is a shared resource, shared amongst communities, different users, and that too in a way that really reflects the risks associated with water scarcity, climate change, and other risks, right? So all to say that business case for improved water management becomes complex because it requires a multifaceted approach, which is not always easy. Having said that, with increased awareness, with increasing impacts of water scarcity, climate change that we're all seeing in terms of availability and quality of water, there's growing recognition on the economic benefits of conserving, treating, reusing, recycling, and more efficiently managing resources, sometimes in partnerships, as Sonal also explained in detail.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the challenge of water quality and quantity. There's also the challenge of water access for people's everyday use. Kavita, what has WaterAid seen as the connection between WASH, water sanitation and hygiene, and water access and business resilience in the community setting?
Hi, Alison. Thank you for that question. And like speakers before me has clearly established, and we all know that the businesses do rely on water. And as important it is for the people to have, the employees to have better access to wash services in their factories, it is important that they have the similar access in their household, in their communities. What we have seen from WaterAid's experience is when we go to the communities, when we educate people, we let them know what is, what does it mean by, sustainable access to wash. And when they are educated, they are better empowered and they have leaderships to take actions for their own community water management services. So just, for an instance, so when people understand water from a holistic point of view, beyond their own household, they understand, what are the resources, what are the water sources available in their communities, what is their reliability, how often they dry out, what is the need of water in the community. So when they understand all that, they take more informed decision, especially around farming practices. So with that, it helps businesses to be more reliable. And once these people have regular access to wash services in the home, they tend to be more regular to their employees, which makes business more resilient. Alison, I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. That really captures the why. So turning to the how and zooming in on the initiative itself, how does this come to life in the USAID Gap Inc. Women in Water Alliance? Sajwa, why do we take this collective action approach?
Yes, and everyone said once and again that wash is a complex issue, and we need an ecosystem approach to solve for this issue, right? So there's a need to synergize the strength of partners. That is the strength of Women in Water Alliance, and that's how we function. So we realize that community we are working in needs microfinance to meet the demand, the wash demand. And this is done by our partner, water.org, right? Now, we also realized that we need to work on managing local water resources. The governance is very important. It's important to work with the government, the local government, and so on. And this is all done by watering. Again, the water quality is affected by the fertilizers and pesticides used in cotton cultivation. So we need to work towards that. Also, we need to work towards water efficient cotton production, so cultivation. So this is championed by ISC, our partner, Institute for Sustainable Communities. And the entire thing has to be binded together, right? All these individual pieces has to be binded together. And we need someone to champion this entire piece of work in the community. And we see women's role in this. And that's where CARE comes into picture with the Gap Inc. program, where they are developing, they're empowering the women in this community to champion and to own this entire piece of work. All of these activities, everyone is doing their part, the areas where they are very good at. And all of this is led and managed by USAID and Gap Inc. Gap Inc. is not just a co-funder, but also a prime, which basically means we are also responsible for managing the program. So overall, this is a good mix of bringing together everyone's strength for a common vision. And that's why we do the things the way it is.
Yeah, definitely leveraging each partner's strength really is collective action at work. So let's dig into those different levers that you just mentioned. You were saying how the women's empowerment and life skills training that CARE brings to PACE is really underscoring all of this work, preparing women with the tools and resources to take advantage of those financing opportunities or be engaged in the community discussions. So Sharad, why don't you share a little bit about what is CARE finding in the community as they work towards, as you are all working towards building resilience?
Yeah, so thank you, Alison, for raising a very pertinent question. And as Shashwat explained, PACE stands for Personal Advancement and Career Enhancement. It is a life skill training which CARE is implementing in the communities to enhance self-efficacy and advancement through PACE training program. After PACE training, numerous times women have come together. They have come up with solutions related to water and sanitation. They are taking initiatives themselves to take action and also create a change within themselves and the community. Examples of the benefits of participation in PACE ranges from women coming together to demand their local school fix girls' toilet, to working with local health workers to expand sanitary pads supplied during the COVID period, especially mobilizing village to improve waste management, helping to contribute to community for health, access to education, and overall resilience. There are plenty of examples which are there and success stories and cases. I would like to share one specific example where women have come together to demand the local government to fix up their borewell. This is a story of Badiyamandu village of Devas district. The women identified a common problem of a non-functional borewell. They used to travel for 1 to 1.5 kilometers to get water. 5 women of the group, they filed a complaint. After acquiring their skills on communication and public speaking, they filed a complaint in front of the Sarpanch, who is a local elected member and the head of the village. And the result was their effort paid a positive result and a motor was installed and nearly 150 families started getting benefit of fresh drinking water from this. And this was done from the government fund. Then after PACE training, the women who are graduating, they are also ensuring a lasting change and taking steps for a sustainable, development in their villages and their roles. And we are thrilled to see that 162 PACE participants, they were elected in the local Gram Panchayat elections, which is a local body election and which heads and governs the village level development program. So these women who have been elected, they are going to have a say and they are going to be a part of the decision making, which includes water and sanitation committees also.
Yeah, we were so excited to learn that so many women who had been through the PACE training had gone on to run for elections and to be elected into those leadership roles, putting them in a position to really create real change, whether they were in formal roles or just coming together to advocate for something like that repaired borewell. As we said, it's women who often bear the burden of water collection, but even more important, women often have really smart solutions. So it's essential that they're part of these conversations as equal community members. So that really comes to life in a lot of water aids work. What does that look like for developing these plans for lasting water solutions, Kavita?
That's so excited to hear, Sharadji. So, I wanted to share and also let our members who are not from India on this call to know that there is a Government of India scheme which is currently going on, under which Government of India is aiming to connect each and every household by a functional tap water connection by 2024. So under this Women and Water Alliance, we thought of taking the opportunity of of this particular scheme and get women not only to participate but lead different aspects of this particular of implementation of the scheme. So with the help of a partner like here, we got the women together, build their awareness and engage them into each and every aspects of water management in their community, starting from mapping of the water resources to conducting the water quality test, from finding out which should be the right location to have a water storage facilities. And whenever they have found that there is an issue with the water quality in their village, where do they take it up? They started following up with their with the government members. And recently, there is something called a village action plan, which as part of the government scheme, which is like a blueprint of having water infrastructures in the villages, women are leading all the aspects of development of those plans. And they have submitted over 1,000 plans so far to the government. So we are, all these women and we in the project are following up with the government to ensure that all these 1,000 villages get running water in by next year maybe. So it is very heartening, Alison, to see just with an education empowerment and getting women together, how they can just change from being destined to fetch water for the family to now being the water managers. And just direct to share, these women now are not only following with the government for the approval of these plans, but Yes, you see women are conducting water quality tests in the village. Yeah, so currently these women among themselves are discussing, once they have functional pipe water supply in their households, how are they going to manage in case there is a breakdown? They don't want, another time to be wasted for external services. So they are taking trainings to be the repair and maintenance person in their communities.
Yes, amazing. It's fun to see the women at work. And I just want to underscore how incredible it is that it's already been 1,000 village action plans so far. That really helps show just the scale at which we can create this change. And so that's at the community level. Let's turn a little bit to what does it mean to build resilience for water stress at the individual level. Shrag, can you start us off by sharing a little bit more about those skills that PACE helps build to prepare people to advocate for their water needs?
Yeah, sure. So women who are part of the PACE program, they go for 6 months of training, and they really go deep into building these skills like communications to advocate for their water needs, leadership, teamwork, to break the culture of silence, take initiative, and raise their voice. Even lessons around dealing with resistance and other skills that enables them to take action. So this is a part of the PACE training program which they go through. And through this capacity building over a period of time, women can lead in the community, have a say. They can put forward their views very strongly to advocate for what they want, what they need for their household at individual level, and also for the community needs.
Yeah, definitely. So what does that mean for households and livelihoods? Sonal, will you share a little bit from the water.org perspective? Oh, you're on mute still.
Sorry about that. Building resilience is also when a household can own their own water and sanitation solution. What people lack, especially lack, is that access to affordable capital. They simply don't have the savings to pay for the upfront cost of constructing that infrastructure at home. And so this is where the work that we're doing with under the Alliance with microfinance institutions, with government microfinance institutions, plays a very important role in really making that capital available in the form of affordable small loans to these women who are educated and through the PACE program again on financial inclusion, on how to actually take out a loan for water and sanitation. And what we've seen in terms of just building resilience and the benefits is that it's not only economical for the households long term, because now they have a sustainable solution, but it's also economically empowering, especially for women and children. It allows them to move away from spending hours collecting water or finding a place to relieve themselves to a place where they can use those same hours on income generating activities. Girls can go to school. And if you have the time, I'd love to give like an illustrative example of how access to affordable financing can build resilience for households. On your screen, you can see Rihanna. This is Rihanna. She lives with her husband and daughter, Sumalila. She's a homemaker, and her daughter, Sumalila, is a seamstress and contributes to family income through her sewing work. Now, Rihanna and her family, they did not have a water connection. And they had to walk 3 hours every day to collect water from a water pump that was quite a few kilometers away. And on the days when the water was not, because in rural areas in India, you don't have water 24/7. You don't have water coming in every day. So on the days when there was no water available, they then had to buy water and pay for it. And so every month, the family was paying $30, which was approximately 15% of their monthly income on water for household use. And what Rihanna did through the work that the Alliance is doing with microfinance institutions is she was able to take a loan for constructing a water connection at home. She got a loan of $145, which she used to build a tap connection and a storage tank. And she got this from her local bank. And she was able to repay that loan in 18 months at $10. The monthly payment was $10 a month. This meant that she could actually save $20 every month, which was added to the household income. And what it also meant was that Sumalila could put more hours now into her sewing work. And so, this is just one example of the kind of resilience that affordable financing can build for households. I think to date, under the Alliance, we have domestic finance partners have mobilized 7 million in capital, in domestic capital for household solutions. And so it's really about, when we talk about collective action, it's about making that resource available through government schemes, through the community, but then also how do we build that resilience within households so that they can access it in a sustainable manner.
Wow, yes, $7 million worth of loans times that many. I mean, it's so powerful to see what that's looked like for a specific family. So thank you for bringing in that story. So Ishita, what does that look like in the cotton fields?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Alison. So in the cotton fields at the individual levels, right, with the changing climate, depleting water tables, it's become very critical for farmers to continue their agricultural practices in a way that allows them to grow the crop with lesser water and adapting to climate change. So to give you an example, through the Women Plus Water Alliance, we've been working with over 3,000 farmers, teaching them, enabling them to really use agricultural practices that use less water and less chemical inputs. One of the women farmers we worked with, as you can see on this slide, Shantabai, she gave us just an acre of land to begin with so we could showcase the benefits of these sustainable, improved agricultural practices. In that 1 acre of land, she was able to save around 5,000 rupees as input cost, and it also yielded greater final output overall, providing profits for her. In addition to the economic benefits, these interventions have also resulted in climate change benefits, reduction in reduction in water footprint. In general, it's resulted in increased yields and reduced cost of cultivation. It's also meeting a market demand for sustainable cotton, which is stemming from, an increased interest in sustainable and regenerative cotton from the apparel sector, the apparel industry in general. In parallel to this, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. In parallel to this, we've also been working with women entrepreneurs to help them produce biofertilizers and biopesticides. As you can see in this picture, these are some women who've been engaged in these activities. This allows them to generate their own livelihood opportunities while also meeting the demand that the farmers are creating for these, more environmental friendly biofertilizers and biopesticides. To date, many of these women have been able to get profits of up to $750, which we are anticipating will increase over time. So overall, as these individuals feel secure in their economic activities, as they prepare themselves to address climate risks, water risks, they and their families and communities feel more secure and are therefore able to strengthen their own resilience to future risks that they might face and continue their economic activities as well. We've been using this model for the Women Plus Water Alliance, and it has great potential to scale as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's so compelling how this act of building water resilience in the cotton fields also drives economic resilience for those farmers and the entrepreneurs selling the biofertilizers to them. It's kind of similar to the story that Sonal just shared about how by bringing the loan or by taking out that loan to bring water closer to home, a woman could then spend more time with her sewing business. These activities are all unlocking such incredible potential. So zooming back out with all these different angles reinforcing each other, how does this all contribute to business continuity? I'll turn right back to you, Isha, because these farmers are essential to our apparel business. We're making their cotton.
Yes, absolutely. They are the foundation to the apparel industry, right? So we all know climate change is causing severe stress to water availability, accessibility, quality, and we are seeing these water stress, climate change impacts directly in these cotton fields. So for example, in India, we are seeing that late onset of monsoon is causing severe germination losses. We are seeing increased humidity and temperatures causing increased incidence of pest attacks. So climate change, depleting water tables, diminishing soil and water quality, they are putting the cotton farmer at huge risks and really increasing their overall vulnerability. We are seeing that they have to increase their cost for cultivation, reducing household incomes to the point that some of the farmers are also thinking about diversifying into alternative forms of livelihood. So if these farmers are at risk, if they have to go into other alternative forms of income, the entire textile value chain, whether that's mills, brands, other institutions that depend on this crop for fiber and cloth, all of them are tremendous risk for economic, social, environmental losses. I can really go on and on about this, but we'll be discussing this in much more detail during our session tomorrow at the same time at CV World Water Week. The session is called Water, Climate, Cotton, Re-envisioning an Inclusive and Sustainable Textile Value Chain, where we will unpack in more detail the different dynamics in this climate, water, cotton nexus and its implication for the textile value chain. And we look forward to seeing you all there again.
Oh boy, Ishita, I think we all are excited about that session. I want to be there for sure. And we rightly said, there's a very good link or clear linkage between cotton, water, and climate. Cotton is a water-thirsty crop. It's well established. Both rain-fed and irrigational cotton is affected due to the climate change that we are talking about. Drought, flood, and delayed monsoons are all affecting the cotton production over the years. And there could be a potential demand and supply gap here of the cotton in the entire supply chain. So it is important to maintain the cotton supply while being a responsible business leader completely. Let's pause here a bit. And the reason I just jumped in here is, when I'm hearing all my partners talking, it's magical. Talk about reaching 100,000 women through PACE, talk about 1,000 village action plans in place to get water access to people, talk about reaching close to 1 million people with improved access to water and sanitation, talk about $7 million of WASH loans coming out, or talk about the work that IC has been doing with 3,000 odd farmers to improve to improve the agricultural practices of cotton. And these are also heartwarming. But we need to say that story, right? And potentially, Alison, you're an expert in storytelling and communication. Can you talk a bit more about this around how corporates will be interested and what is the storytelling aspect to this?
Yeah, it's true. We can't have the impact we want to see by acting alone, and it's important that we communicate this work and possible solutions to other corporate partners to help bring them in. That's why we're a co-founder of the Water Resilience Coalition, WRC, to partner across industries through collective action on water. And one of the WRC's key goals is to take global leadership by inspiring other industry leaders to engage. And one of the ways to do that is to storytell and publicly share what we're doing to help bring other companies along and demonstrate what's possible. But there are lots of other reasons for storytelling as well that bring in the business benefits. Consumer cause marketing is something we're hearing more and more about. There's more research that's showing how values-driven storytelling can increase brand perceptions and loyalty among customers. And it's really important that we have that true impact to point to in that marketing and storytelling to be able to bring them in a really authentic way. There's also the value of employee education and awareness building, because by amplifying initiatives such as this, companies can attract and motivate talent who want to work in their companies, in these companies that really align with their values. So there are all of these moments where we really can draw in more people, whether that is as employees working for the companies who are driving the change, customers who are able to shop alongside their values, or using the storytelling to bring other corporations that have the reach and resources along on this journey. So I guess that kind of brings us to this question of motivating people along the WASH journey, motivating other corporations. Kavita, could you share a little bit more about gaining and maintaining corporations' interest in this type of work from WaterAid's perspective?
Well said, Alison. At WaterAid, we really believe that businesses can and they should be part of this global solution to WASH challenges. We all know that with the businesses going global, the operations being outsourced, most of the supply chains are located in areas which are currently and have been facing the challenges with not that great WASH standards. So businesses had that responsibility to make a significant improvement in those facilities. One of the very good trend that WaterAid has seen, especially with progressive corporate like Gap, that they are now shifting their philanthropic or CSR interest beyond their own factories. They are now investing in their supply chain and the people and the communities are in and around their supply chain. Definitely, it helps them with a very strong social and ethical driver. But beyond that, we have also seen that, since WaterAid works with a lot of corporate and the supply chain, our experience on the field says that for every dollar invested in improved WASH services in the factories and also in the supply chain, yield back around $4 benefit to the corporates. There is a big loyalty in the employees. They are healthy. They continue to work for the companies for a longer time. Also, the kind of acceptance and respect for the brand is there in those communities. It's unparalleled. So, for instance, in our Women in Water project, it is like our women who are the leaders in the project. They take a lot of pride to introduce themselves from the Women in Water Alliance. They like to talk about how they are also contributing to a better businesses. So so beyond what you get in your profit books, in your books, there's a lot of community contribution, community acceptance that comes when businesses start investing in improved WASH in their supply chain.
Yes,
yeah.
I love that. Well, we'll leave that there. I think with that, we're nearing the end of our discussion. We do have a few minutes left for Q&A. So I saw a lot of great questions are coming in already. So please continue to put questions into the chat. And in the meantime, let's turn back to Ella and Sajwat to share some final thoughts. Ella, what business opportunities do you see for building community water resilience from the USAID perspective? And what should today's attendees bring back to their own organizations?
Thanks so much, Allison. I'll make it quick because I saw some really good questions that I want our panelists to be able to answer. So I just want to leave the audience with three things. First, really, women as agents of change and levers of change. We talk a lot about women, how they are disproportionately affected by lack of access to water, climate change, etc. But we really need to focus more on empowering them as agents of change to actually, because they're key to building resilience in their communities and beyond. And we saw from Sharad's example about that fixing the bore well in the Dewas district in India, how powerful that could be at a very small scale at a community level. And I do want to share this little tidbit that actually Duflo from MIT and a few others have actually done this research over a decade ago that showed that in India, having women in village councils, so back to what Sharad said about PACE participants becoming part of being elected in village councils, that's really key. It's very important because having women in village councils have been shown to affect the kinds of investments. So having women in these councils actually have increased investment in drinking water facilities. So it does make a difference at a systems level. And the second point I wanted to make is that water is critical to building resilience, not just by the women in the communities at a business, but really overall. And the private sector needs to start positioning water as a growth opportunity for business and not just a risk. It's a key to building business resilience, but also for growing, right? As Sashwat and Sonal said before, strong business relies on strong communities. And so having strong communities, strong business, that's already a part of the story. And lastly, water stewardship. What we're showing you is a multi-stakeholder partnership and really with different partners leveraging strengths of each other. But I want to urge us to do more. How can we do this at the basin level with more companies and all of those different partnerships to affect change beyond, let's say, Madhya Pradesh or beyond Maharashtra, and really go larger scale. And USAID is looking and exploring at the space, exploring the space and looking at ways on how we can do this, not just with one company and other organizations, but with several companies. For instance, how can we do this to affect more change and build resilience, not just in communities and businesses, but also countries and globally? Thank you, Allison.
Thanks, Ella. And I'll pick right from where you left, Ella. The water stewardship is very important. And we need to unlock the potential of water stewardship and look beyond just manufacturing, look beyond just mitigating your risk, explore a bit more, be the change agent to the community and the stakeholders that you touch. So, go bold on your water stewardship plans. The second thing is have an ecosystem approach. Water is managed at both ends, at the community as well as manufacturing. And I'm looking at it from the textile manufacturing angle. I mean, look at it this way. If we are doing enough in the manufacturing, saving water, but we are not saving water or not utilizing the saved water properly in the community or efficiently in the community, then that's no good. And vice versa, if you're doing very well at the community setting, but utilizing all of this water that is saved in manufacturing or polluting it in the manufacturing units, then again, that's not good. So you need to take a holistic ecosystem approach to this problem. Third, and one of the most important aspects is collective action. Create sustainable and scalable solutions for addressing the water issues, and work in synergy, leverage on each other's strengths. It is a collective issue and can be solved by collective action. And that's how, give it back to Alison.
Absolutely. It is a collective issue. If we've learned anything this year, it is a collective issue. We'll try to squeeze in about 2 questions before we sign off for the day. One of the ones that came in from the chat, I'll start with you, Kavita. Can you share how the government of India is engaged as well? We talked a lot about Gap Inc. and USAID and these partnerships, but what is the role with the Indian government in creating this water access?
Thank you, Alison. So like I mentioned earlier, Government of India is already implementing this project. They call this Jal Jeevan Mission, under which they are looking forward to connect each and every household with the functional tap water connection. In this Women and Water Alliance project, government is a major stakeholder. One of the things that we have learned is that, the government has a very ambitious plan. And so there is a lot of responsibility at the implementing organization. So for instance, the PHED, the Jal Nigam, they all have a huge responsibility to deliver these promises. So we are working with them to understand where they need help, like in terms of training, capacity building, and we are providing that help to them. And now with this train, and we also, get the issues faced by the community. We raise those issues and let the government people know that these are the issues, so that there is an easy and faster redressal of the problem. So the focus of this alliance is to support the government in reaching out to their goal of each and every connecting households with the functional water connection. If that is a right answer for the one who asked.
Yes, I mean, that alignment with the Indian government's commitment, those national policies are exactly what seems to be so impactful in the work firm WaterAid to be able to unlock the funding and the resources for each new construction project. That has been really inspiring for me sitting back on the other side in the US. Another question we received, what were the biggest challenges to women's leadership in water governance, and how did you overcome them? What were the lessons learned from this wonderful journey? Feel free to hop off the mic if anyone has an answer handy.
I could take that, Alison, very quickly. One of the learnings from the field is the male engagement was very important. And that's why we did incorporate male engagement as part of the PACE program, which is primarily originally designed only for women, but we realized that including men plays an important role. So that's a very short one. I mean, there are many challenges. It's not an easy one-line answer. Most challenge, like we said, it is disproportionately burdened towards women, and there's a lot to be solved.
A lot to unpack there. And I do think one of the points Sharad was making earlier about how some of the skills trainings are about dealing with resistance for areas where people may not be as used to having women step up and make those changes. We're preparing women with the tools to face those challenges. So with that, I want to say a huge thank you to all of our partners, the panelists representing today, and all of those behind the work in the Women in Water Alliance. This has made such impactful change in the communities where we're working so far, and really looking forward to continuing that impact. And I hope that those listening today were inspired and can help take some of these lessons back to your own organizations. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful remainder of World Water Week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.